None of this makes any sense to me. She is over there living with her ISIS husband or jihadi fighter.
Right.
I just don't get it. I mean, she's now saying to her jihadi husband, "Oh, I'm going to go back to the UK. Is that all right?"
Yeah.
So
she's described her life there as relatively normal, right? Despite the fact that she saw a severed head in a bin. I mean, hello.
She's probably got a Waitrose just down the road, and a gym and everything.
Yeah,
but
right.
Anyway, the thing is, it just wouldn't happen in real life. I mean, this jihadi husband would bury her up to her neck in sand, and the rest of the community would stone her.
Yes.
That is the reality of what would happen. So it makes me wonder: is this part of a wider terrorist plot to infiltrate our society and plant a bomb in London Tube?
Well, you know what? You go back to the guy who blew up Manchester Arena. He was the son of a very dangerous man from Libya who we invited into this country because we thought we were doing him a favour. What we failed to do is to track the fact that his son was also going over to Libya to fight on behalf of jihadis. There's too much of this going on. Well, who knows how many people here would like to blow us all up? It's disgusting.
I know, and I blame these government agencies.
Yeah.
Nobody in these government agencies seems to ever sit there and think, "Oh, I wonder if she's actually telling fibs."
Right.
And nobody ever questions what these people say.
She said in this interview in the Times, which is a brilliant piece of journalism and journalistic work by the Times, she's saying, "Oh, I just want to come back to Britain and lead a quiet life." Well, I'm sorry, darling, you've already, I'm afraid, given that up.
You couldn't make it up. Honestly, you could not make it up. She's went over there to fight for a state which is at war with the United Kingdom. If you take that action, you can only be judged on your actions. And I'm sorry, but that's where you're going to have to stay and just
exactly.
Make the best
and also, it's a bit coincidental, is it not, that she's now asking to return to this country after ISIS have by and large been defeated, and this is their final sort of death throes in the part of Syria where they're being chased out of. Well,
I mean, the ISIS were always a vile organisation, and anybody who aligned themselves with ISIS, it's disgusting, really.
It really is. But because we're kind of faced with this, having never been faced with it before, we are, of course, like a rabbit in the headlights in terms of the government. We don't know what to do.
Well, go with your gut instinct and just say, "Sorry, love, we're not letting you back in."
No, I mean, I'm not going to go down the route of what was advocated by one of our defence ministers, in which he said we should be going over to where these people are and just assassinating them. I'm not advocating that at all, but I certainly think we should just leave her where she is. Samantha says, your guest earlier said we're at the beginning of this sort of situation. Ray attempts to return. So start as we mean to go on. No ifs, no buts, just a flat, emphatic no. I think that's very important. I think we absolutely have to set our stall out here and say to anyone who is thinking of coming back from the war in the Middle East, in Syria, in Iraq, who was fighting on behalf of Syria, on behalf of ISIS, anyone who was involved in that is not welcome back in this country, and they are no longer British citizens. I think we can make that as a rule and treat it as a piece of law and a piece of legislation. And if they need to vote it through in the House of Commons, instead of messing about talking about Brexit every 5 minutes, let's do it. Let's do it now.
I'm pretty sure that, she should have her citizenship revoked, but unfortunately, I think our hands are tied. I think it's illegal under international law to make someone stateless.
Yeah.
And that's set by the EU Human Rights Convention. So while we're still in the EU, not wanting to link everything to Brexit, we're kind of stuck with her.
Well, isn't it also illegal to behead people and put them in cages and set fire to them?
In certain states, yes.
Yes, well, it doesn't stop people from doing it, so I would stick two fingers up to whoever it is that says it's illegal to make people stateless and say, well, we've decided to make an exception in this case and in every other case of anyone who went to fight for ISIS.
Oh, definitely so. I'm very much on your side with this. I think the second they go out there, they should have their citizenship revoked. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're no different now to someone who throws their passport overboard and arrives somewhere on a dinghy.
Yeah, well, somebody actually sent me a tweet earlier saying, what if somebody had gone to fight for Germany in the Second World War? Would you have then allowed them back into Britain as a British citizen? I very much doubt it.
Well, exactly. But I fear, however, that exception might be made because it's a female and they're pregnant. You're going to get the left-wing softies that are going to sort of kick off and say that it's not fair.
Well, yeah, but we're not supposed to be being run by left-wing softies, are we?
Well, we're not supposed to, but I think we clearly are, just to a certain extent.
I mean, can you think of any reason why we should perhaps show some kind of compassion for this woman?
Not a single ounce.
No.
Not a shred. And I don't think she's got the sympathy of 90%, 95% of the nation.
Yeah, but this is why we are the nation that we are, though, aren't we? I'm not trying to argue against my own point, but the bottom line is that we are supposed to be a civilised nation. We are supposed to show that we are better than everybody else. Therefore, we don't set fire to people. We don't execute people. We don't have the death penalty. You know, is there an argument that could be made for us to show leniency, or at least to somehow, consider that?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, sometimes being at the forefront of these things is learning when to say no. You know, I wish we'd take a stance more like the Australians do sometimes.
Yeah.
And just, you know, we need to show some resilience and be a little bit tougher. We're a very soft nation politically, and I think that the people that seem to be shouting loudest at the moment, you know, like those waving the EU flag around Westminster, are just incredibly soft and want to pander to these people, and we can't afford to.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Craig, thanks very much indeed. Craig in Oxford there, saying we have no way, and nor should we have any way of being compassionate towards this particular individual. The trouble is, of course, that we probably will find out over the course of the next 48 hours that we've already allowed several hundred of these bozos back into the country. And so we can't turn her down now because she's just the same as everybody else.
This young girl that's over in Syria,
yes,
she's made a bed, she's lying in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want her to return.
Right.
Sorry, I'm a father of 6, value my children immensely, and I don't want those type of people that have decided to leave a civilised society,
yeah,
to go somewhere where it isn't civilised, where they chop heads off. And I don't want to listen to the PC Brigade. I have no interest in them. You know, this is a very nice country with good people in. It only goes wrong when we allow the wrong type of people in.
I think, and I'm sure I think you'd agree with this, Vernon. You know, she's abrogated her right to live here by leaving and going to such a dreadful place. You know.
Yeah, I don't want to hear any of this grooming or online or whatever. She was 15 years of age. I don't know how she got the money to travel to Syria. That would be one area that I would be questioning.
Yes.
I'd also be looking very closely at the parents, because if my children left, I would be mortified.
Yeah,
right.
I'd
be blaming myself.
And there are a couple of things I wanted to mention that people are using as arguments for kind of letting her off the hook. And one of them is her age.
Right.
They say, oh, she was only 15. She couldn't make a good decision because she was so young.
Yeah. And
it's a really patronising attitude towards teenagers.
I agree.
I've spent most of my working life with teenagers, and for which I deserve a medal, I think.
Yes.
But I'm also a mother of teenagers, and I think they do know that killing people and beheading them is bad.
Of course they do.
They're quite smart. They know that. They might, people talk about them being reckless and making mistakes. Yeah, nicking some sweets from Woolies or some makeup from Superdrug, or maybe driving your car too fast, getting drunk on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
Beheading people and being a terrorist is not the kind of thing your average
You're
teenager.
absolutely right. I used to say the same thing about the Bulger killers. You know, it's all very well saying they were kids. Well, you know, kids shoplift. You know, kids might steal a bike. They don't sort of, throw cans at a baby until it's dead.
That's right. And the other thing I wanted to mention was the young ladies are often referred to as being well educated, in particular for listeners outside of London. The school they went to, I believe, is one that I was trained at, and they had an education that allowed them to get good ideas about the values that we have here. The teachers there were responsible in bringing up the girls at the school to have a good attitude towards their future, and they had every opportunity to go the right way.
Yeah.
If she came back, she wouldn't get a better education and inculcation into British values. I mean, in other words, you're trying to reform her. She wouldn't get anything better than what she had before then. And the third thing I wanted to say, Mike, which I've listened to, I'm afraid, I've got to admit it, I listened to a few other radio stations.
For heaven's sake.
And, I know.
I'll let you off this once.
It's because I'm so young, right? Anyway, but nobody has mentioned this. They funded the tickets to get out of the country by stealing jewellery from their relatives.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, like most British people, I thought, oh, no, they took a couple of, gold necklaces or something, some party jewellery. No, in many Asian cultures, people traditionally didn't have access to good banks, so they'd buy gold jewellery, and that was their life savings. So she stole the life savings from her own relatives to fund this flight, and she hasn't said sorry for that either.
Doesn't sound like somebody...
She's not got feeling for her family.
No, it doesn't sound like somebody who didn't know what she was doing, though, does it?
No, but, also it sounds like somebody who's psychopathic or narcissistic, very self-regarding, that she stole from people near and dear to her. And then we're supposed to believe that she's got this care and concern that she can extend to her own child. It's possible, but it's somewhat unlikely. I think the child is possibly a ruse to get back into the country. Because if I knew my child was going to be facing malnutrition and death, I might...
she's let two of them die.
To make sure that I could not have a child born who would die.
Yeah, but she's let the first two die. She didn't stop after the first one died. She let the second one die as well. Now, we don't know what the circumstances were, but we can be pretty sure that she might have been able to do something about that. What would you do with her, though, Anthony? I assume you don't want her back. What can we do?
Well, it's a very difficult thing. I mean, there are, in the refugee camp where she's staying, there are many, many other people who I'm sure would also like to come here.
Yeah.
And she's wanting to jump ahead of them in the queue. I think she needs to be processed in the exact order that everybody else is processed. So other people who were there, many of them victims of ISIS. For your listeners, we use the word Christian often, and the Christian nickname was first given to people living in Antioch in Syria. That was the first place in the world where people were called Christians. And all the Christians had to leave Syria because of the danger they were under, and as a result of ISIS. And she wants to jump the queue ahead of them because she's got pregnant.
Yeah.